Hello and welcome to the CardFellas Show. We're back. Obviously, we didn't coordinate who was going to do the introduction because I think you were going to read it and I read it and I just read it. So what's going on, Matt?
We are back. We are back. We are back. Episode number 2. They said we wouldn't last. Here we are. Ready for another episode. We're going to dissect the hell out of another set. We had fun last week, man. I tell you, you and I have chatted about this before. Like, how are we going to fill so much time for a podcast, for a live show? Or like, well, for the 12 minutes, we'll talk about the set. The other, man, we talked for like, what, 52 minutes last time? So
it was a long time.
I think we're good. I think we're good. Hey, I ended last show with a tease, if you remember, my Deshaun Watson story. And so here's the story. It's not massively complex. It's not anything, different, but it goes like this. So I was really high on Deshaun Watson last year, 2020, after the 2020-21 season, before he got into his legal trouble. So coming out of that, I was like, okay, this guy's the next great quarterback, young quarterback. So I went on eBay. I bought a bunch of his rookie cards, raw. And then I decided to send them to PSA. Well, yada, yada, yada. I currently have 13 Deshaun Watsons sitting at PSA waiting to get graded. So the market right now couldn't be colder for the guy, right? So that's what we're talking about, like the losses that we've taken, and we're going to be very transparent when that's the case. I think those were probably selling, or they not selling, they were being graded for like $20, $25 a card. So at the time, I was like, this is a great investment. Not so much now. So that's my Deshaun Watson story. I just wanted to get that off the chest. And just to remind you guys, again, we're going to be very transparent on the show, and we're going to tell you when we take our losses. But Chris, I want you to start out now with the regular format of the show. Cool, odd, otherwise. Tell me something about the hobby that fits one of those categories.
Well, I got a comment on your Deshaun Watson story, and I saw today that rumored that he'd be getting traded to the Vikings. So you're a Minnesota guy. Maybe that'll pan out just fine. Maybe he shows up in Minnesota, and there's a little bit of hype behind him, and you can dump those things quick and get your cash back on him.
Yes, I see. Those cards have been sitting at PSA for so long. He was a hot commodity, a cold commodity, a possible felon, and now he could be hot again. The life cycle of cards while the process of grading happens. So that's why I guess the one benefit of having PSA have your cards for so long. The life cycle of the player goes through many, many transformations. So, yeah, the Bucks and the Vikings apparently are on his list. So, I guess TBD, but those cards right now couldn't be colder. Could not be colder.
Well, PSA should start a new service. It's called like cancellation service or something. If the cards are there, you can pay $10 just to have them sent back to you and then not touch it.
The dump that card. Don't do anything more with it.
Right.
Don't do anything more with it.
Or maybe
I'm out.
Maybe auto dispose. But
absolutely.
The thing that I'm excited about this week is the 2022 Topps baseball set out this week. Really like the design. It actually reminds me a lot of Bowman. It's got that Bowman feel to it, and we're going to get deeper into that set. I think in the next few weeks we'll do a show on it. But just happy to see that some new cards come out for this year, and I guess the next thing is just hoping that those guys can get on the field and play some baseball.
Right, that's the biggest thing I think right now with the baseball cards, especially the cards that are coming out right now. We might see those players on the field for who knows how long, but. I know you're very excited about that set coming out. You and I chatted about it a little bit, and I'm really eager to dive into that a little bit more. Like you said, we're going to take a closer look at that set coming up, and let's just hope baseball gets going here. And one of the things that I saw online, it said, now that football's over, what's going to move you in the hobby over the next 6 months? And it got me thinking. Basketball, obviously, when the playoffs happen, cards are going to fluctuate with those players. Hockey pretty much stays steady. But baseball, there might not be any movement, and there might not be anything when it comes to the hobby for a while. So something to definitely look forward to. Hopefully a resolution coming soon. One of the things that I find really cool right now, and some people might look at it and bristle, but is the way PSA is doing their allocation for the $50 service that they're now reopening. What they're doing is they're sending emails to the Collector Club members, and they've done posts on social media as well, basically putting you in a virtual waiting room for an opportunity to get 5 cards graded for $50 each. Now, $50 is still quite a steep price for a card to get graded. But as you know, Chris, I love to gamble. And when I sub to PSA, that feels like a little bit of a gamble to me. But instead of that all or nothing that you get at the casino, you actually end up getting something at the end. You get your item, you get your card back that's graded. But there's a lot of gambling involved with that. You're sending in the card, hoping it's going to be a 10, 9, whatever you're hoping for. And sometimes you miss. But sometimes those cards come back with, 2, 3, 4, 10 times the X of the value that you sent it. And so, again, I realize that $50 is a lot for one card. So now you have to be really extra selective when you're picking out those cards. Now, I personally have won that allocation. You can win it multiple times. I've won it, not each in whenever they send it out, you can only win once per time they send it out, but I've won it 5 different times. And so I've had an opportunity to send in 25 cards. Right now I have one 5-card submission in the grading stage at PSA. I have 13 more or 12 more. 12 more headed there now. And I just won on Tuesday 5 more. So there's an opportunity if you have some cards that you're willing to spend $50. I just like the way they're doing it. I like the way that they're, incorporating social media, it feels more inclusive, and they're trying to figure out, okay, is this the best way to allocate these grading services at a lower cost? Now, the declared value on each card is up to $999, and the turnaround time is about 90 days. But it got me thinking, I'm like, I wonder if this is how they're going to roll out their lower priced cards. Maybe $25, $35, whatever the case may be. But I really like it. And Chris, as you and I have talked about, I've spent dumber things. I've spent $50 on dumber things, is what I was hoping to say there. But again, it's a little bit of a gamble, but at the end, hopefully there's a little bit of a payoff that helps you pay for it. And some of the cards I've sent in, if they don't come back at 10, I might not make my money back, but I'm okay with that. Again, because that's what I enjoy about the hobby, is that little bit of a gamble. So I kind of like it. I like it. I like what PSA is doing. And I know there's some pushback saying, just get me the cards that I've had for a year. But I think it might open the door to some lower prices coming up going forward.
All right, yeah, I'd be curious to see how that shakes out. Both of us have some older submissions out there at PSA right now, and will these new submissions that you're sending in, are they going to beat our older submissions that have been there for a long time?
Well, that's the one thing that I was really surprised at. That first 5-card allocation that I put in, it was already in grading. I mean, it moved right away. It moved into grading ultra fast, but it's now stayed there for a while. But it's a really good test. It will, in my opinion, it will probably beat some of the cards we sent in last April, May. I think it will. And it's an interesting PR move by PSA. To try and get that new inventory coming in while so many people have waited for their inventory to get back from last year. So I'll keep everybody updated as it happens and it moves through. But I just think it's cool. I think it's a good way to reintroduce those lower prices. I think the days of $8, $9, $10 grading is probably gone. I don't know if that comes back. Especially in the next year or so, but that would be pretty cool. I mean, I would love to be able to send those 80s baseball cards back in for $8.88 someday, but we'll see. I think it's a good PR move. So
yeah, I think it'll be a little bit of time before we get there, but I think what they probably want to do is get to a point where they're at the same price as SGC. SGC I think is still at $25 or $30 that they're doing their subs with. But I'm running up on almost a year now on my last submission that I put in. It's about a 30 card order. So we'll see what happens with that. It's been in grading for a couple months, so I'm assuming it's going to be ready to pop here pretty soon. But, that's out there and ready to go. So we'll see what happens with that. But let's get to our main topic here today, and that's 1980-1981 Topps basketball set. And this set is near and dear to your heart. You kind of had the card in this set. It was you actually had a pretty good grade on that card as well. Tell us a little bit about your story with the 80-81 Topps basketball set.
Yeah, so growing up, obviously in the 80s, the sport to watch back in the 80s really was basketball, and they marketed it really well. So I remember days of or weekends filled with the NBA on NBC, Magic, Bird. So I went out and I bought the Magic and Bird iconic rookie card, and this was way back. This was, previous to when I even knew about grading and anything. And I just put it in my personal collection. I think I spent probably $125 on it. Now, fast forward to getting back into the hobby, I sent it into PSA. I got a PSA 7 on it, which, as it turns out, is one of the more common grades for that card. And it was a card that I never thought I would get rid of it. I never did. And then I saw the price just skyrocket. And I think what brought the price up so much was the Jordan era cards started coming up in price, and then people started chasing the rookie Jordan. And then that card just shot up through the roof, right? The Jordan rookie. And then everybody was looking at the next kind of icons down that list, and the Magic and Bird cards started bumping up that. And so the price I got was just, it was too good to pass up. And so it's now in somebody else's hands. I got a nice return on it. But yeah, that was the iconic card of this set. And, this set was truly unique in the sense that there were 264 numbered cards for that set. But the uniqueness of that set was there was only 176 cards in the set. And the reason was they came in panels. The three, perforated cards that all made up one card. And here's one of them. So this is one of the Larry Bird cards. And there are, I think, 5 Larry Bird cards. 3 of them are these rebounding cards. But, you start looking at the cards, they have the cut down the middles, or the cut down the sides. And there's the real prize right there. That's the Larry Bird, Magic, and Julius Erving card. But one of the things that was interesting to this card, or this set, was they would do one card and it would have like the one that I saw. There's multiple like this, but let's say there was a John Long, a Julius Erving, and then a Ricky Sobers, and then another card would be that same Julius Erving card and that same Ricky Sobers card, but we're going to toss in a Junior Bridgman instead. So they're the same cards, but you just added one. So that Julius Erving and Ricky Sobers were the same number. Like the Erving card was number 1, the Sobers card was 46, but you replace them with a Junior Bridgman and a John Long. Those cards are the different ones. So it was a weird way to build a set, but a unique way nonetheless. And I found, you and I talked about this. This was just different. And we tried to figure out, are there any other sets like this where the cards come in panels where they're perforated? We couldn't think of any off the top of our head.
Yeah, we couldn't come up with any. And, I like to look at things from a historical context. And I know you like to dig into those PSA numbers. But, what I see from this, and you talked about the popularity of the NBA. I think that came in the late 80s. In the 70s, the NBA was really not mainstream at that time. And I dug in a little bit. And at that time, Topps actually sold more hockey cards than basketball cards. And if you take a look back as well, the next set after this, so the 81 set, was the last set that Topps made until the 1990s when it comes to basketball. Then we went without a licensed set for a few years. Star came in and brought out that unlicensed set. But basketball was really looked at as kind of the basketball cards anyways, almost like something that dealers didn't want. And they were forced to take. This set coming out in 1980, it was similar to the times we're in now, where we had inflation through the roof. You and I were pretty young at this time, but I think you can see some similarities. And we feel like right now we're getting less for more. Like, we're paying more money for less product wherever we go. And if you were a kid at that time, Topps actually raised the price of cards in 1980. It was a quarter a pack, up from 20 cents, and it said on the pack that you got 24 cards, but in actuality, you got 8 cards with the perforation.
Right. Right.
And then you got that team pinup as well. So the corporate overlord standards were, we were giving you more cards, but really it was less cards. And like you said, it was 88 panels of 3 cards, and then they went and made 2 different panels too. So there's really 176 separate panels that made up the 264 cards in the set, which is super, super weird way to make a set. But somebody thought, hey, let's save some money, and we're going to print these things this way, and we'll still be able to put out this set of 264 cards, but it'll be a lot cheaper way to make it. And like I said, I think Topps really was kind of looking for a way out of basketball cards at this point, and this was kind of their way, and this is kind of what they thought they could do to get through it cheaply.
That's a great call out on the pack. 24 cards per pack. I mean, what a scam, right? I mean, if you see that, you're looking at it going, man, how did they fit 24 in this little pack? But no, it was. And it is funny that it turned out to be one of the most iconic sets with one of the most iconic duos, right? That to ever play the game, and they end up on the same card. And looking at some of these cards, and when I did the research on this, I was looking. There's 8 Moses Malone cards, right? There's 8 Julius Erving cards. Bill Cartwright rookie card is on 8 cards. George Gervin, the Iceman's has 7 cards. So there wasn't a whole lot of variety. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, 6 cards. Robert Parrish, I think it was his rookie as well. No, not Parrish's rookie. He had 6. Adrian Dantley had 6. Mo Cheeks, that was a rookie card. 4 cards. There were 4 Jordan cards in there. Eddie, not Michael. Eddie, but those are you start looking at that, and then you look at the other rookies. You have Mo Cheeks, who I mentioned, Cartwright, Tree Rollins, Michael Cooper, Sidney Moncrief. So it's not like it's there's a ton of rookies, but it had then Magic and Bird. And Magic had, I think, 4 cards. Bird had 3, or no, he had 5, but 3 were the rebound leaders. And they had the scoring leaders. They weren't true rookie cards. That was the other part of this set that was unique, because the Magic card and the Bird card, I think, was that a scoring leaders card, or was that, I can't remember what it was, if it was, or one of them had, there was, if you want to click through it again, there's one of the rebound leader cards that it's essentially, so this is a scoring leader card that has Magic on there as a rookie. And I think there's Magic as an all-star, but right. That one was with Mo Cheeks. Yeah, that one, that was a scoring leader, but I think that was talking about Irvin. That was Dr. J, right? And so look at that card. Can you go back to that one?
So that is actually the pinup. So you'd get, the 8 panels, but you'd also get this little mini poster, and you can see the creases in it. So that was basically a card size 4 different ways, and you would get one of those teams in each pack. And if you are a guy that's like, what, I'd really love to own a Magic Johnson rookie, but I don't have the cash, you can buy the Lakers team pinup on eBay right now for $4.
Really?
You could own this. Exactly. And I'm like, I'm going to buy some of those because they
absolutely. Cool. Yeah. Those are the icons, right? That's those gold jerseys, the Lakers Showtime. That's the era when basketball was absolutely at its best, or coming up at least before the Jordan era, but giving birth to the Jordan era. One of the things that you and I have talked about this set too, Chris, is we've seen a lot of these cards in the wild. We go to shows and we find these cards and we're like, boy, these are in really good shape. Here's the craziest thing I found out about this. getting a 10 in this card, in any of these cards from the set, extremely rare. So I dove into the PSA pop reports. The Magic and Bird rookie card with the Dr. J in the middle, 22 10s. That's it in the whole world. It's been graded more than 10,000 times. So the 7 I got, there's 3,200 others. Even a 9, 614 9s. So I think one of the unique part of this set too was the printing marks and there were blotches, kind of printing blotches. There were weird lines on the card. So finding 10s on any of these cards is and remains today extremely challenging. And if you heard recently, there was a person who bought, and I think it was a golden auction, bought this complete set of PSA 10s for $1.4 million. And it's every 10 has an extremely low pop. So even if you got a card or, you were pulling the card or kept it in good shape, getting a 10 on these cards were extremely, extremely challenging, which I found very interesting because you and I have found some really sharp cards out in the wild.
Yeah, I've been buying them. I bought a stack of them at a show not too long ago, and they're really pretty inexpensive too. I mean, I think I bought, I don't know, 50 or 60 cards, and some of them I paid a quarter, some 50 cents. But I think almost all of them were under $1. And a lot of those names that you were talking about, George Gervin, I got a bunch of
Right.
Dr. J's, and I mean, I don't know what this guy was doing, but he had a stack of them. They're all in great shape. But one thing that I've noticed in just kind of taking them out of the sleeves and kind of repackaging them and in my own sleeves is you really do have to be careful with that perforation because it does ruin them. That perforation can come loose. But I think the other thing is when kids opened these things 40 years ago, I think the first thing they did was bust those perforations out. And, there's a lot of people out there that actually collect this as a set with the cards separated. I've seen several of them online that people do, and the cards fit in a tobacco sleeve, and they look really nice. And like that Magic card that sells in the thousands with a mid grade on it. You can pick that up raw in a separated form. I'm seeing them selling for under $100. Regularly sell under $150. So if you want to own that Magic card and just don't have thousands of dollars to spend on it, you can get it for very little money. I actually looked at those same PSA numbers that you did, and so the 10s, there's actually 0.2% of every card graded came out as a 10 for that Magic card.
Right.
The set overall, it's about 1% of cards graded get a 10. In the Magic card, I took some numbers down. 32% of them were 7s, and like you said, that was the highest grade or highest percentage. 28 of them were 8s, 28%. 20% got a 6, and 8% received a 5. But, we talk about that Jordan rookie. The Jordan rookie in a 10 last year sold for like $840,000.
Yeah, right.
That was the record sale. And there are a lot of them. There's a lot of Jordans.
A lot more than 22, right?
Yeah, it's over 300. There's over 300 Jordan rookies that have been graded at 10, whereas only 22 Magic. Well, the highest selling Magic Bird rookie is 840,000. So it's actually less than the Jordan, even though it's over 10 times, it's about 15 times as rare. So if you've got an extra 800 grand laying around, to me, a lot of value there. You're getting 2 icons instead of 1 icon in a much more rare card. And I want to talk about that at the end of the show is how rare that Jordan card is, but that'll be for later in the show. But again, we're talking about Bird and Magic. Well, let's talk about that. I mean, how crazy it is it that Bird and Magic are in the same rookies? I mean, that's 2 all-time great players sandwiched together. Think about like if we had an Elway and Marino rookie with Walter Payton in the middle. Like
right,
like Barry Sanders, Troy Aikman, Montana in the middle, Griffey, Randy Johnson, Nolan Ryan in the middle. Or what if somebody did something crazy like put Giovanni Carmazzi and Tom Brady on the same rookie card?
Not that you have one of those and you cherish it every night and say, at least I have a PSA 10 Giovanni Kamazi, whatever his name is. No, you're absolutely right. Like it's bonkers. And they ended up on the same card. And it is really, truly, I would say, one of the icons of the hobby. It really is a sharp looking card. You have the purple of the Lakers. You have the green of the Celtics. And then you have Dr. J in the middle, who is just an absolute, human highlight reel. He's so much fun to watch. Just three icons right there, two of them rookies. And I will say, I do want to go back to one of the things when you talk about the panels, the individual panels. So I was looking at that as well. And then I started looking, not many or none on eBay were graded by PSA. So I wonder if PSA doesn't allow grading of individual panels, because I didn't find one. But Beckett does. So I did find one that was a BGS 9.5 of Larry Bird that sold for $300. So that I just found that interesting too, that maybe PSA said, no, we're not going to grade those. And that's just something we're going to send back to the person without a grade. But maybe there just wasn't any out there. But I just found that interesting. And I think the other interesting part about this is, there's another Magic Johnson with Julius Erving in the middle of it. And that one is like the fourth most graded card, and also has a Jan van Breda Kulov. I don't even know how to pronounce the guy's name, but that's one of it. But the other two most, there it is right there. Exactly. Those are the cards that that's one of Magic's, that's Magic's other highest graded card. But the second and third most cards are the Bird with Bill Cartwright, and then Bird with Jack Sikma, both of the rebound and the scoring leader. So as far as like the pecking order, it looks like Bird has been graded more rather than the Magic. And again, just numbers wise, we're talking 31 10s. Like you hit the percentages. I mean, this is a hard set. And even looking at those cards that you're popping up there, I mean, there's something wrong with it. I mean, and they're off center too. Like that's not right. Take away the printing marks. Those, I mean, they're off center, and those are just, those are tough grades. One interesting thing I'm waiting for, one of the cards I sent in to PSA with my new 5-card allocation, the one that's in grading, was actually one of the Magic Johnson rookie cards that you just showed with, I think it was with the Ron Boone and John Long. I sent that into PSA. And now that it's in grading phase, it's not going to grade that card for me. So I don't know if it was trimmed, if it was altered, if it was a reprint, because they did a reprint of some of those cards as well. So I'm eager to find out what PSA has ruled. So I won't have to pay for the grading, but they're not grading that card for me. And I don't know what the case is. So I'm interested to get it back, because that was a card I paid a little bit more for, because it was a Magic rookie at the National. And so we'll see what it comes back is, and I'll share once I figure it out. But I wonder about that too with this set. Were people trimming the cards? Like what would prevent PSA from taking my money and grading that card with this set? And I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of reprints out there I see, and I mean, but who knows? It could be a trim situation. Who knows? And I've seen some cards come back from PSA ungraded, and you're like, I don't
same size as every other card that I put in there, right?
Exactly. So who knows what they see and what they flag. A few things I missed at the beginning was this set didn't come in rack, didn't come in cello, didn't come in grocery packs, but it did come in vending boxes. And back in 1980, those cases sold for about $100. And I couldn't find any vending boxes on eBay right now. They say that they're out there, but from what I've read, there's no known sealed vending case out there. So if you're buying it, if you do find a vending box, it could be unsealed. It's going to come from an unsealed box or unsealed case. But the other thing which I found interesting in looking up this stuff was, we talked about the money saving thing. But this set, if you go and look at the 1978 Topps baseball set, pretty much the same design, but just a mini format. We've got the same fonts. The script font that's in this card is the exact same script font that is in the 78 baseball set. And then the block letters that they use for the names, same exact font. Many of the colors are the same. So it truly was a set that I think that Topps kind of said, yeah, we got to make a basketball set this year. So, what are we going to do? Well, let's take the 78 baseball set and we'll put 3 cards on one card and we'll call that 3 cards. But it was an interesting time. And, I think when you and I really got into pro basketball, it was the late 80s when these guys were the Showtime Lakers. And it was the Bird, and it was the bad boy Pistons, and Jordan still hadn't won a championship yet, but was knocking on the door. But I think the game and the league and the way people perceived the league was very different when this set came out than it was in the late 80s.
Absolutely, yeah. You just had the ABA, you had a competing league, and the NBA was hardly what it was. Even a couple of years later, and Magic and Bird had very much of the impact that they had. It was because of them that made the NBA just as much of an icon. And I think it's so interesting that you bring that up about they just took one design and here put it. Topps essentially half-assed this set, and it turns out to be one of the most iconic sets that Topps has ever produced. Isn't that fascinating? That's just interesting. It's where it's like, all right, we're gonna put them in panels. We're gonna use the same design we used a couple years ago for baseball, and now here we are. Again, people are clamoring for this set or these cards from the set because it is just so unique and so rare. And that's what's great about this hobby, though, right? It is just you start finding these little niches and these cards, and it's just it's what makes things. It's what makes it fun is finding the uniqueness of each set and each card. And even if Topps is mailing this one in, it's still one of the coolest sets now looking back, more than 30 years and 40 years now. Jeez, We're talking about 40 years now.
40 years.
One of the things too, you mentioned they were 25 cents a pack. And you get 24 cards. But now you can get a pack. And I've seen a couple pack openings online. And I was looking, I'm like, I wonder what a pack. So you can buy one that's not authenticated by PSA, of course, buyer beware, for like $250, $300. I don't know if I'd trust that, but you can do the PSA 8 for like $1,000. So if you want to go chase this, you're going to pay $1,000 for a pack. And I think it was earlier this year, a box sold for $31,000. And that was an authenticated box. And so that would just be, how cool would that be? Yeah, right? To take the cellophane off that and rip that box. How cool would that be? That would be just to witness it and see what the cards look like coming out of the packs. Tasting the bubble gum after 40 years. This is all that stuff. It'd just be cool. I really love when people crack open their PSA packs and open them. That's just, to me, I'm fascinated. I don't know if I'd do that, but I would love to see this someone open a box and just see kind of just see like how many Birds and how many Magics you pull, because they're probably getting multiples, right? If you're opening a box.
Well,
I would assume
eight panels in a pack. 36 packs. So you've got about 260 some different panels. So you got to think that you should have the odds would give you about 1.5 chances at getting. You should get 1.5 of those Bird Magic rookies with Irving in it. So that's the way it would average out. So if you open 2 boxes, you should get 3 basically.
Yeah, again, it's such a cool card. Two icons of the sport. I do. There's some days where I regret selling it just because it is such a cool card. But sometimes you got to give up the cards that you love for the right price.
Right. We're at that age where we're starting to get some pretty big expenditures from our children, and
Right.
that's what these things are going to. So
Yeah, you got to pay the bills sometimes, and that means sometimes sacrificing the cards that you love. But maybe it'll come back to me. And every time, I see it every once in a while. I'll see it as a PSA 5, and I'm like, maybe. I don't know if I want to pay for a 7, but having that card back, and I really like what you said. Check out the panels. Maybe paying 8, 9, 6, 7, whatever, the $100, $1,000. And just pay a couple hundred and get that Magic card. And if it is only gradable by, Beckett, then maybe you wait for Beckett's prices to come down and you send that in, and that's your card. And you don't have to invest, a couple $1,000s to get a good one, and you just get that panel card. That's just cool. That's cool too.
That price was actually for all 3 cards in the panel. So you got the you got the Bird, the Dr. J, and the Magic. They just were kind of the panel was busted apart. But I just saw one sell for under $100, and they regularly sell for under $150. You get all 3.
I guess I know what I'll be going down a rabbit hole then tonight, looking for those cards.
Give you something to do.
But the problem is, part of it is I would love to get it. I'd love to buy those cards and get it graded, but. If Beckett's the only one doing it, if Beckett's right now, I still think their lowest price might be $200 or $100 to get graded, maybe even more. So they haven't opened up yet, quite like PSA has. So again, but if you purchase the card, you wait on it, you have a little bit of patience, you're willing to kind of wait it out a little bit, and that card's going to be in your personal collection. Yeah, it might be worth it.
Yeah, like you said, it's funny that in 1980 this set wasn't something that people wanted. You and I were both chasing lots of different wax last year, and I would see it all the time in the top stuff. You would see the X out boxes, and what those were boxes that were sent to dealers that they didn't sell and they sent back. And Tops, they would put an X on it. I'm sure they gave the dealers some money back on it, and then they would have these packs. And what they would do with them is make them into like this grab bag thing that they would sell for $5 to like the Kmarts of the world back then.
Right. Yeah.
And these packs often ended up in those grab bags. There's lots of photos of those grab bags out there loaded with these packs in them. And
unreal.
So they would sell the bag for $5. And I think one recently sold for over $5,000.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's
bags. So
gosh, what a way to make some money. Just, it is. It's truly remarkable to hear stories like that. And, but that's what makes the hobby great. And, if you can figure out a way to, make a little bit of money like that, but that's more getting lucky than anything, right? It's just, these cast off cards that nobody wanted at one time, all of a sudden become valuable. It's just, it's cool to hear those stories. I just wish it would happen to me more often, please. Just once. I don't even just once. You go to a swap meet or you go to a Goodwill, and all of a sudden, wow, why is that 86 Fleer unopened box sitting right there? Right? Just happened to me.
I think you probably saw in the news a ticket, a intact ticket without the stub pulled of Michael Jordan's first game. Is at auction right now, and it was this guy who was in college, and I think he went to DePaul or somewhere in Chicago, and he was from the Washington D.C. area, and his dad wanted to give him a gift, be comfortable in your new surroundings. Sent him 2 tickets to the Chicago Bulls game against the Bullets that game, and he had somebody who was going to go with him, and the guy decided not to go. So he went to the game by himself and kept the other ticket intact. And it's been like sitting in his drawer, and just kind of pulled it out recently and went, this might be worth something. And it is Michael Jordan's first pro game. It is the only intact ticket that anyone has ever known as even existed in existence. Real. So pretty cool item that's at auction right now. And, I've heard hundreds of thousands of dollars being thrown around for a price tag on that. And I just saw an article here tonight where he's like, if somebody would have offered me $500 for that 2 years ago, I would have given it.
Oh, absolutely. Think about it. 5 years ago, I think about all the prices of all the all the cards we're talking about. Like, if you were to have a Magic and Bird rookie card ungraded 5 years ago, probably could have gotten, $500 would have probably got you one. Yeah. And it probably would have been in really good shape. I think about back when I bought mine probably, it was probably 20 years ago, but I paid $125 for it. That was a lot back then. Like, I felt like, but I wanted to make sure I had a really good, nice looking, sharp card. So I did some shopping around, and I just put it in my personal collection. Didn't even know anything about grading. So, but I think, 5 years ago, man, just think about all the things you purchased and sold for, 5 to 10x now. Who knows how much? But that's a great story. And I love stories like that. I love people who can find hidden treasures. And, you and I are both fans of Gary Vee. And, if you can go find things that mean stuff to you, but can also maybe give you a little bit of cash here or there, and you can turn around and flip it, that's pretty cool. So that's a great story. We'll have to watch and follow up and see how much that ticket actually goes for. But again, it's one of those rarities, right? We talked about it with this Magic and Bird. Like, if you have the 10, that's one of the rarest 10s that there is in the hobby. And you brought up the Michael Jordan rookie card. And again, there are a lot of those out there, and they're still going for over 800K, excuse me. Right.
Yeah, I want to talk about that next. Are we ready to put a bow in the 1980-81 set?
Yeah, I think so. I think we've touched on a little bit of everything. I think the one thing that maybe we didn't mention was the most graded card was the Bird Magic rookie. The second one was Larry Bird's rebound leaders with Bill Cartwright. The next one was a Bird with Stigma scoring leaders. And then the Magic Johnson with the Julius Erving was the fourth most. The fifth most is a Magic Johnson with Ron Boone. The sixth most is a Larry Bird. So everybody who had the cards from this era or from this set, they were getting the Bird Magic cards graded. Not really anybody else really that they're after. So definitely a set for the ages, a definite hobby icon thanks to NBA legends like Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. So yeah, I think we've dissected the hell out of this one. So I think we can move on to our big finish.
Yeah, it's things that surprised us this week. I'll let you go first. What is something that surprised you this week?
Well, we all know what happened in the Super Bowl, and congratulations to the Rams for beating the Bengals. And congratulations to anyone who sold their Joe Burrow before the Super Bowl. I don't know if you've seen the prices of his cards, but they have plummeted. His cards are down 50% from Sunday. And so it was a bloodbath when it comes to the hobby. It was bad. Like, Burrow was the hottest thing. I will tell you this. I went into my local hobby shop on Saturday before the Super Bowl. It was jam-packed. And there was 3 or 4 people sitting by one of the counters, and it's the glass counters, and they had just all the Burrows lined up right there. And everybody was, what about that one? What about that one? People were thinking, okay, if I buy these Burrows now, they're going to be worth so much more if he wins. But man, if they bought those, they took a bath. So here's my question to you, Chris. What are you thinking, and what are you doing if you are in the Burrow market or you're holding a Burrow card right now? What are your thoughts after seeing prices go down?
Well, I cashed in last year after the Super Bowl with my Tom Brady rookie, sold it for big dollars. And my son, he opened a ton of packs last year and had a pile of Burrow rookies. And, he's thinking, hey, it's Super Bowl Sunday. It's time for me to make some money this year. So he's like, let's sell these things. Let's get them out there. And I just looked at it and went, hey, man, I'm like, how are you doing on money? And he's got a little job. He's been working and making some money. And, he's 14 years old and he's got $500 to his name right now. And he looks at me, he's like, I don't really need a lot of money right now. I'm sitting pretty good. And I'm like, well, then don't sell these cards because, he could break his leg and be done forever. But, I think this kid's going to be something special. And if you needed the money, then great. Maybe we would go through the hassle of trying to sell these things. But, I'm kind of a guy that's going to hold on those. And if I'm holding them, I'm keeping them right now. And if I'm in the market for them, I'm going to wait for another month because I think especially
it's coming up.
Baseball gets going, but as we get into the NBA playoffs and the NHL playoffs, people are going to stop thinking about football, at least for a little while anyway. I know the draft, everything kind of gets going, and we'll probably have a little bit of free agency stuff. I've already seen a ton of stuff there, so it'll get going a little bit. But, I think especially once the basketball playoffs get going, football will become an afterthought. And I'm really bullish. I think if you're looking to buy something right now, I really like going and buying some Herberts right now too. So I'd say Herbert and Burrow are buys, and maybe Burrow wait another month.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you. I think Burrow gets back to the Super Bowl. I think he's that good, and I think he is a unique talent. And he might be a Dan Marino, and that would be unfortunate, but I just think he's a unique talent, and I think there's a lot of young. So I'm bullish too. I think you can wait a month, but I think there could be some people panic selling that might have paid a little bit too much before the Super Bowl. Maybe they're trying to recoup it. So yeah, I think there'll be a buyer's market for Burrow, and if he ever gets back to the big game, we know what the prices are going to do, right? Like that's the biggest thing. We've seen it firsthand. It's going to shoot up. So if you buy him now, the expectation maybe he's going to have another good year and go to the Super Bowl. I think there's an opportunity to make some money, and if he wins it, they skyrocket even more. But I think there's definitely tremendous upside value right now in Joe Burrow, and you mentioned Justin Herbert. So definitely bullish on those, but really interesting to see that stock market crash so hard on Black Monday for Joe Burrow.
Yeah, good for your local card shop getting out at the high end, but think about how many eBay returns are happening this week with, I know they're trying to make it so that people can't do that and do the speculative thing, but the reality is you can return anything on eBay if you use the right words, and I'm sure that many of those are coming back this week. So
one of the worst things about the hobby.
Right. And that's why I really didn't want Jack to sell those, because I was afraid that was going to happen. And if you don't need the cash, then just hold on to them. My thing that surprised me this week is I was reading an article on Sports Collector Daily, which is one of my favorite places to get the hobby news. And there's a guy on there that owns a card shop that writes a column. And he was talking about his friend who came in with a full 1986 Fleer basketball set. And we've been talking about this card all night long, even though we're supposed to be talking about 1980 Topps basketball. But it's hard to talk about 80s basketball without bringing this up. But the guy brought in a full set. And, of course, he looks at the Jordan card, and it is, he showed a picture of it. It is really nice. I mean, it's probably, I would say, an 8. It's off center a little bit, but really nice card. And it got me thinking, like, how many of these cards are actually out there? And you go and you look at just the PSA Pop report. There's been 20,000 Michael Jordan rookies that have been graded.
Unreal.
Unreal. We take that number, and you and I really got in the 1990 Fleer set last year. I'm like, well, how does that compare to the 1990 Fleer Jordan? The 1990 Fleer Jordan, 30,000 cards. So really just, about 50% more. So pretty close when most people consider 1990 Fleer as junk wax and 86 Fleer as like gold. You look a little bit closer, 300,000 cards from the 1986 Fleer set have been graded. Less than 60,000 1990 Fleer cards, and obviously half of those are the Jordan cards. So obviously, if people find really nice 86 Fleer cards, they're going to send them in. Even the commons bring good money. So you can't really take that number as gold. And obviously, there's a lot more 1990 Fleer Michael Jordan cards that are just sitting out there raw than there are the 86 Fleer Jordan card.
Yes.
But I think there's many more of these Jordan cards out there than people think. I mean, when people think of that Jordan card, it's thought of as a holy grail card, but I think it's actually more common than people give credit for. Now, the 10s, like we talked about, are super rare, and that you're looking at, it's like 1% of those cards have come back a 10. So those are very rare. But you know, when you and I went to the National this year, I mean, just about every case had a couple in them. I mean,
They did,
it's not
for sure.
it's not a rare card. So when you're thinking about that card, and obviously most people aren't, it's not on their radar because it's too expensive. But I just think that people should realize that that card's not as rare, I think, as a lot of people kind of give it credit for. I went through a little bit more of the numbers. The least graded card in the 1986 set is LaSalle Thompson, 1,287 cards graded. So
wow, that's the least graded.
That's the least, and it's a lot. So that's what I'm saying is there's a lot of these cards out there that have been graded. The least amount of graded cards in the 1990 set, 4 of them. It's Johnny Newman card. 4 cards, but there was a bunch of them that were, 7, 8, a lot of the common cards, but every single card in the set had been graded. 4 was the least amount. So
wow,
breaking down the numbers a little bit there. Obviously not a real reason to send in a common card out of that 1990 set unless you're just trying to make a full set of graded cards.
Right.
And clearly there hasn't been that many people that have tried it, and with the prices of grading right now, it'll be a while before they do.
Well, it is interesting when you look at the 86 numbers, and you and I have talked about this too. The Jordan rookie card, that 86 rookie card, and the sticker for that matter, are still some of the highest or most frequently graded cards currently. So to your point, those cards are still out in the wild. So that 86 basketball set, I mean, that's close to be considered junk wax as far as the numbers, right? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Well,
and in the era of how many were produced and how many are out there.
You're saying the 1990 set junk wax.
I'm saying the 86. There's a lot of. It seems like there's a lot out there, right? That's what we're saying. I mean, there seems to be, but or maybe it's not as they're out there. They're out there quite prevalent, but everything's getting graded.
There's definitely more cards graded from that set than just about any other set out there. And it's because of the value. Like I said, even if you take a common card,
a checklist is graded.
It's going to sell.
Right.
Yeah. It's going to sell for big money. So it's kind of dangerous to look at the numbers that way. And again, maybe we'll get a few comments this week since we called 1986 Fleer basketball junk wax. That's going to get a touch of few nerves probably.
That's on me. But no, when you're talking, yes, I see what you're saying. It's not. There's no comparison to the 1990 Fleer as far as the production. And if you're just solely looking at the pop reports, you could make that correlation to say, well, 86 Fleer, that might have been overproduced. But the fact is, there's not a lot of cards sitting in somebody's house or collection that's ungraded. So that's why it's not junk wax. We know that's not the case. We're not comparing 90s to 86, but we have to clarify
it's just interesting to crunch the numbers. Obviously, you and I, at least I have thousands of 1990 Fleer commons sitting in the house. So those obviously are laying around everywhere where, you don't, I'm not going to say you don't see 86 Fleer raw cards out there, but 86 Fleer raw cards are valuable enough that, if you can send them in for $20 to get them graded, you're probably going to do it. So, but I just thought it was interesting that when you think of that card and the way people talk about the Jordan rookie, it almost feels like it's super rare, but it really, I wouldn't say it's super rare.
I know.
On the numbers.
After looking at your numbers or hearing your numbers, I would tend to agree. And this, Chris, I had one of those cards, and I was not a big basketball collector. And I remember opening packs because they were kind of cool. And so I had a Jordan card, and much like I'm sure many people, it was just sitting in my collection, and then obviously Michael Jordan became Michael Jordan, but it wasn't even when you were opening the cards back then, you were looking for a Michael Jordan, but it wasn't nearly the iconic card that it is now. But very interesting numbers to hear that and to realize, maybe it isn't as rare as, everybody kind of holds it to be when it comes to the holy grails of the hobby.
Right. I remember being at a card show when I was probably about 15 years old, and I'm looking. There was a guy there that had Jordan rookie. So this is in the early 90s, and I think that card was in the $150. And I don't remember the details on what kind of condition it was in, but I was sitting looking at that card and thinking about buying it. And the dealer's like, listen, man, you can buy this card, one of them for $150, or you can get like 5 Pippen rookies. And I ended up buying a Pippen rookie from him for $30. He's like, if you got 5 of those, it's easier for those to go up than one card going up. He's like, if you got 5 of these and they go up $50, you make $250. What's the odds of this $150 card going up $250? In my 15-year-old brain, that made so much sense. Plus, if I only spent $30 on a card, I'd have more money for hot dogs and Cokes. If I spent the $150, I would be broke for the day. So he talked me out of buying the Michael Jordan rookie in 1991, and my life has been better since.
Yeah, that's a tough L right there, but it makes complete sense, right? I mean, it was one of those things where I don't think people understand how much $150 for a card really meant. I mean, that was a hefty investment, and
Right.
so I think that's one of the things that is just so bonkers about the hobby right now. It's like people will spend $150 like that.
Right.
People will spend $200, $500. Like there's so many people willing to spend, and I look back and I'm right there with you. I remember the same situation, buying a Kirby Puckett Fleer update card, and it was $60, and I wanted that card so badly, but I was $60. How am I going to get $60? I mean, it's just one of those things. And now we think about it, and they're like, now we're spending $50 to get cards graded. Jeez,
Right.
It's just, but that's you grow up a little bit, you learn, you get a little bit more money, and now you have a little bit more freedom. But yeah, great stories. I think that Magic and Bird rookie in contrast with the Jordan rookie, I think it's all fascinating, and for anybody who has those cards in their collection and are going to hold on to them, man, that's cool. I'd like to see that collection, and I know there are people out there that have those cards, and pretty cool.
Yeah, well, we're approaching the 58-minute mark for today's show, which I think is plenty.
How are we going to fill time? I keep asking. How are we going to fill time?
You and I have already talked about the next show, and we're going to do it instead of doing it. We did a show Saturday. Today's Thursday. We're going to do another show Saturday, and we're going to do an interesting set, I think, because we're going to talk about 85 tops, which, when people think about, and this is football, when people think about football, in the 80s, you had the 84 set that's got the Elway and the Marino. You got the 86 set with the Jerry Rice. Then you got the 85 set with not a whole lot. You got the Warren Moon card in there, and that's about it. But the design, you and I both like the design. The 1985 football season was a really cool football season as well. So whatever, it's not going to be looked at, I think, as one of the flagship sets of the 1980s when it comes to football. But we think it's interesting, and that's what we're going to talk about.
Absolutely, it's going to be great. We're going to talk horizontal football cards next show. That'll be fun. And I'm going to give you a teaser here. There aren't many 10s out there in that set either.
Yeah, the black background makes life pretty tough when it comes to 10s.
Yeah.
So that should be a good time. Matt, thanks again for doing this.
Yeah, great chat. Always have a good time, my friend.
And, we do this anyway. And I think that's when you think about the great podcasts. And I remember Bill Simmons. I always loved Bill Simmons' podcast. And back when Tony Romo was in his last few years of the Cowboys, Bill and Tony had this great friendship. And Bill always said, when Tony retires, he is going to be fantastic at television because I sit and talk to him. And the things that we see and hear him say on television, basically Simmons said that's what he would talk about when you were at the bar with him. So this is kind of the same thing, except for we're not Tony Romo. We're not getting Tony Romo cash. But, we're going to have these conversations anyway, so why not record them and hopefully can entertain some people and educate as well.
You said something about like great podcasts. That's almost dumber than me calling the 1986 Junk Wax.
Right.
We're not great yet, man. We're just a podcast. We're barely there, but man, this is fun. And I don't care if we're the only ones listening and the only ones talking to ourselves. Well, I don't care, man. This is fun. I'm having a blast. Let's keep doing it.
Yeah, your son pops in once in a while, so we've got one viewer.
We do have a viewer. That way, he's at least we always have one. The faithful follower, my kid. My wife doesn't even know we have a podcast.
Yeah. Mine doesn't either.
Finds out, once they find out, do we finally realize we made it because they're paying attention to us? Maybe that's how it goes. Wow. Well, we hope people enjoy it, man, because we're having fun. And we love those comments, like you said, even if you want to roast us.
Yeah.
We got thick skin. We're good.
There you go. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you guys next time.